Welcome back to Poor Man Mods. Thanks for coming along today. It's been a long time since I've seen you, a long time since you've seen me, a long time since this car is driven. Today we're gonna talk about where we left off, where we are, what's changed, and a lot's changed. I know I don't do a lot of videos, I don't do a lot of upkeep, and Poor Man Mods is a great channel that covers cars on a budget, and this is kind of the antithesis of that. We do a lot of things with this off camera, and we don't always film it because no one really, I mean, some people watch it, you're here watching it, but a lot of people don't watch it, and a lot of people when they do watch it seem to have problems with the fact that we do not Poor Man Mods on this, but it's content for Mike, and that's why I do it. And if you enjoy the content, I thank you for being here. If you don't like the content, there's 100 videos off of my left or right. Go pick one and watch it. I was just talking to Mike prior to the camera turning on. I do not remember when the last time you guys saw this was in any kind of depth. So we're going to cover a lot of the changes. We're going to talk about future plans, and we're going to talk about where we are. And shocker, actually, there's a lot of things that have come into play and a lot of things that have come together. So we'll go through that. It's actually pretty exciting. The year is 2021, it's November, and Mike will test behind the camera that this car was actually on all four wheels, even though it's back up in the air, and we'll talk about why that is too. So we'll uncover it. Yeah, sure. So we'll cover this as exterior, interior, and then mechanical. And that's where we'll go with it. And then we'll talk about future plans. And I'm sorry if the last time you saw the car, it had some of this stuff. Like I was just saying, I don't really remember where we were last time we talked. But as you can see, the car's more together than it has been. I have a hood, which is amazing. I have a Zenki front lower lip, which is amazing. It's an original Toyota one. It's not a repro. Outside of that, if you look at the back, I actually have wheels and tires mounted up. I have 15x8 Panasports wrapped in BF Goodrich, I want to say. I don't even remember, no, Bridgestone, RE71ORs. Doesn't really matter that much, but my buddy Matt tinted the car, so my quarter glass and my passenger glass is tinted. We'll look under the hood real quick. Pop the hood, bro.
2JZ.
No shit. Thanks to Brad from this same channel, we've gone through and revamped the electrical system. We hooked up the brakes. We have reloomed the entire engine harness, took off all the original Toyota engine harness stuff and reloomed it. We have the electrical reinvented with a nice Optima Slim Top Yellow. Just a whole bunch of good parts. The original subframe was pulled and powder coated. We have the power steering rack that got completely serviced and rebuilt, and just a million different changes here and there, including the power steering cooler and some other cool stuff that we've done. Some accessory bits, you know, the T3 heat shield for the master cylinder, under hood stickers, which Mike will show you in a minute. So, you know, when we got the hood painted, we had original 4AG and Toyota reproduction stickers made to match the originals that would have been there. This is actually the original hood that came with the car. If you guys remember, I put out a video with Mike maybe a year or two ago where Retro Spec got absolutely decimated, and thanks for the support. If you watched that video, somewhere around here, watch that video if you haven't on Retro Spec. I originally was going to do more carbon accessories for the car. I was going to do a carbon hood, carbon eye covers, carbon Zenki front lip. After that really bad experience with carbon, from what was supposed to be a really good provider of carbon parts, I actually decided that if it wasn't from Toyota or TRD, then I probably didn't want to do it because it wasn't going to fit right. Now, I know some people are probably already smashing their keyboards about how you can get good aftermarket parts that fit. I don't disagree with that, but given the age of the chassis and the fact that there's so many variations, it's just, for me, worth it to stick with the original parts where I can. That also kind of maintains the retro mod build that I was going for. So that's the underhood and some of the changes there. So on the inside of the car, we have our interior pieces done. Our door cards were refinished with fresh leather, new micro suede. Our seats are reupholstered. We have our wonderful floor mats from Jacob Garaf, whose last name I'm probably butchering. These are OC Racing, I want to say. We have an original Toyota tape deck. This is a 5622 unit from Matsushita. with the Toyota equalizer. We have done all of the LED conversion for the whole car. Our brakes are done, so I have a working emergency brake with the Willwoods in the back. The interior for the rear of the car is also matching. The rear door cards were refinished with the same materials up front. The rear seat decks and everything were reupholstered. The floor mats continue through. All the plastics have been refurbished, and as you can probably see, we have rebuilt our seat belts and our safety equipment with a touch of color here, Ferrari red, and the retractors and all the units were rebuilt to be modern and safe. So, the seat belts being redone is a nice touch, and they'll fit the theme of the car, I think, pretty well. Let me know what you think of the red. Was it a good choice? Was it a bad choice? I tend to like it. A lot of people have said it looks pretty good, but it was definitely a out there choice for me. Why don't we get the electrics working, because we have the electrical system rebuilt. So as you can see, everything's LED and reconnected and fully functional. You can show them the exterior lights should be fully functional at this point. So all that's great and everything looks fantastic, but that doesn't help the car move. So what are the big things that we've done? Well, we obviously have wheels and tires, and the car had them all mounted, although you see that's not the case now. We do have our J160 transmission, which was at the rebuilders for well over a year. It has the mechanical speedometer sensor replacing the digital. It has the S15 gear set. It has a full rebuild on it, and the JSP shifter relocation kit, which I will be ordering JSP's lockout kit as well as soon as I get around to it. So the transmission's here, which is great, but we're still missing some important components. So what about the rear end? The rear end is squared away. That's why the wheels are on it. That's completely rebuilt. We have Technotoy Tuning's Panhard bar, 4 links, the Kaz two-way, Weir's performance axle kit, and some other fun parts back there. I also got T3's sway bar and I guess it is not really end links. It's the brackets. Thanks. The brackets and the lateral pan bar, the lateral bar that goes off the Panhard bar, but we can show them that at some point. Also, other small adjustments. We've been going under the car and pulling off everything from the original exhaust heat shields, the original exhaust brackets, and refurbishing them and rebuilding them and doing everything we can to make those parts as good as possible. And part of that is why this has taken so long. And if you've been here the whole time from when we started this in my father's garage to where we are now, it's been a long journey. And we're getting to the point of why it's still taking this long is that as I've been going through this project, you've probably watched the car age, you've definitely watched Mike, myself, and Dan when he's their age, and a lot has changed, and a lot of my goals changed. If you guys remember early on, I talked about doing an SR86, doing an SR20 in this. I got away from that idea. You may notice in the back there's an engine on a stand that's been stripped down. That is a 3SGE Beams 5th gen, which bolts to the J160. So I don't think I've ever discussed this on camera before. I got away from doing a Nissan or a Dirty Datsun engine in this. I decided that wasn't the experience I wanted for the car. The Beams engine is kind of played out, but it's definitely a great engine. It's definitely a great performer. I'll give Mike a picture of it that he can put in the video somewhere around here if Mike wants. Of when it was assembled. I got it and I did the thing that I always do when I get something like this. I immediately disassembled it. So if you look over here, we've actually started some of the rebuild process from everything of the lower oil pan, the valve cover, then we have the head, which is actually in really great condition. But we're gonna do a light rebuild on this. We're not gonna aim for the moon. We're just gonna go for reliability and turnkey and be able to drive this down to the shore if we want, and then not need to worry about it. So why is the car back up on jack stands? Well, what happened is I got the motor, the transmission was coming back, and one of the things that I didn't have access to as I did the car the first time, right? The first time I did all of this was my buddy Chaz, who you might see on Disaster Piece Garage, another YouTube channel, I don't know if he even posts there anymore, is a powder coater. And so talking with Mike and talking with Brad and talking to other people, the discussion was, well, if you wanted to powder coat the subframe, if you wanted to powder coat the sway bar brackets that the sway bar runs through, now's the time to do it prior to putting the motor in it and you know, having all that stuff there, which is true. It doesn't really affect anything, but at the same point, I have time. So I dropped the subframe out of the car entirely. I had it stripped down to bare metal, and then I had Chaz powder coat it, get 30 years of grime and rust and other not so great stuff off of it. And then through that process, we ended up over here. So what we're doing here is the top hats in the car are original to the car. The ones that are in it right now, they're the ones that came across country with me. The steering knuckles are the original ones in the car, and the outer tie rod ends are original to the first time when I first got the car back across country. I put new outer tie rod ends on it. So we took and are in the process of doing a video, which will probably, this will probably be the opening for that video maybe, of how to do this for T3. T3 did not sponsor that. We paid for these parts, and we're going to show you how to install them. These give you camber and caster adjustment. Mike and I have said 1,000 times we're not alignment guys, so we're going to be dependent upon a really good alignment shop, probably MA Motorsports down in Glen Arm, Maryland, to really set the car up for you know, a nice even driving feel, a nice planted driving feel. But the additional adjustment will be well welcomed by the person that does set the car up, and once they get a good baseline, then as I drive it, I can tinker with things as I want. So that's great. But then this actually opened up another can of worms while I was here. I was talking with Gabe from T3, great guy. If you guys don't know about Techno Toy Tuning, you know, and you have a Toyota, late model Toyota, go check them out. And Gabe was talking to me about what struts I had on the car, which I had on the car Takiko Blues. These were on the car from when I originally brought it across country. I put these on probably within, I don't know, my first year of ownership. I started going through all that stuff and replacing it. Takiko Blues are a very good strut for just a daily driver replacement. But as I was talking to Gabe about all the money I've put into this car and talking with him about the suspension parts I put on it, you know, I've got $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 easy in suspension on, you know, a $200 set of struts. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So I have the TRD, I want to say 8 and 6K springs. I don't know the spring rates off the top of my head. I think they're the 8 or 6s. And Gabe was good enough to sell me some TRD blues at a really nice price. So we're going to be doing an install video on these as well, which is why, again, all this ties together. All these things lead together. The car's back up. The rears are very simple to do. You know, you can do those in probably 45 minutes aside. But the fronts, because of the short stroke, you either have to cut your strut casings, which I don't want to do. Gabe actually sells a solution where you don't have to cut your strut case, which you'll see during the install video. And that will get you to the point where you have TRD blues in your original strut casings without having to cut them all up. And you guys know, as I've done this, I've tried really hard to not permanently modify parts to the point where they can't be restored back from where they came. So that's been a big focus for me, is not hacking the car up, not cutting the car up. Everything should be able to be undone and reversed if someone else wanted to at some point, which at the pace that I'm going, I'll be dead before I get to experience it. There's been some other stuff too along the way. Let me get in here real quick. I have part suppliers everywhere, and one of the great things I've been blessed with is people that go out of their way to help me find parts. Especially for me, I consistently want top-end parts wherever I can. So these are definitely a fanboy set of parts for me, but I love them. And I was lucky enough to find a set original new in box, so I got a set of Toyota auto covers. These are going to be really cool. Now, the only thing I didn't get with this original set of auto covers is a electrical harness kit, which my buddy Ron Sanders, who runs Yoda Connector, check out his website if you have any Toyota connector or Toyota wiring needs. We actually made, these need to be trimmed yet, but we made harnesses for them. We have the original fog light button and the original fog light space within the dash, and we're having some custom brackets made to clear the Zenki lip. So there's just these things that pop up. I don't want to say they're problems, but they're unexpected things that happen that I come across that land in my lap that I don't feel like I should pass up. Did I need to do struts on the car before it runs? No. Do I need to do auto cover fog lights? No. But as these things, these are great deals or awesome parts come up my way, I'm not going to skip out on them. But to summarize, right? So where are we with the whole thing? we're actually closer than we've ever been. I work in my professional life in information technology, and I started to view the car as a system. So I started to go through it as a system. So the electrical system is complete, the interior is complete, the exterior of the car is 99% of where I want it. What we have left to do is an engine build, a drive shaft, and some panic-made harnesses to connect it all together. And then a lot of money probably at a dyno and alignment shop and some finalization. So we have a ways left to go, but when you look at the car from a standpoint of completion, we're actually doing pretty good. It's not done. It's been a long ride. It's been a long road, but I am building something very different than what I see a lot of people build. People that build cars that are nicer than this have much deeper pockets than I do, and probably have several million YouTube viewers or sponsorships for days on end, and all more power to them. I don't have any problems with those people that do that kind of stuff. But for me and my build, it's been a long way. No one wants to see it run more than me. I assure you, every time I get in the car like I did a minute ago on camera, it irks me that I can't drive it. But when it's done, I'll be the happiest person in the automotive community for quite a while. And I will hopefully see you guys out at some Poor Man Mod shows. And I hope I do more content with Mike for this as we can do stuff. And I hope you guys watch it and enjoy watching it. Let me know your thoughts. Hopefully they're positive. If they're not, I'm sorry. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that other fun stuff. Do check out Ron over at Yoda Connectors. Do check out Techno Toy Tuning. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them in the comments below. I do try to keep up with that stuff too. And that's really it. So thanks for coming along. We'll see you guys in just a little bit here. We're going to get started on more of the suspension stuff and get this car back off jack stands. And then start working on the 3S.